Welcome back, Bike Club listeners. My name is Antonino Febbraro, and I'm the founder and CEO of ATSAP LLC, as well as your host of today's episode of the Bike Club podcast. Let's build together. On today's episode of the Bike Club podcast, we're going to be talking about basically the main thing we do here at ATSAP, and that's launching mobile app ideas. So the first question we usually get from any new prospective client is, so how do we actually launch an app idea? And it's not as simple as you think, but we've kind of layered it down into some simple steps and processes that we kind of outline to our clients to help them along that way. So to give a high-level overview of what that is first you have to have your idea. And having your idea is as simple as formulating what it is. And as we talked about in the past on previous episodes and some of our other videos on YouTube and Instagram, the most important part is once you have that idea is to learn how to kind of formulate it and put it down on paper. So that is kind of having your scope together and actually formulating what the app actually is and does. Once you do that, you can kind of get into the steps of doing some of the UI design, prototyping, fundraising, and eventually you get into the actual development of the application. But on today's episode, what I want to kind of talk about is one of these new programs that we've launched here at ATSAP that we're calling the ATSAP Launchpad program. And what that is essentially a program that very early stage startup companies and entrepreneurs can get involved in to help them kind of pursue their app idea from idea to product to market. So one of the common questions we get is, how do I launch an app idea? And so part of our program, the first thing that we do is we sit down and we kind of help them formulate that scope, what that is, what the app's going to do, and how it's going to work. And that scope can be as simple as, the app has these four main features, and we're going to try to target this niche group of app users. And eventually we kind of formulate more of the technical stack around those things. Here at ATSAP, we use a lot of Google Cloud products such as Firebase, Google Cloud hosting, and we use a lot of React Native and Expo for front-end mobile app development and Node.js on the background. So all that technical jargon is kind of formulated here in the scope. What is actually needed to develop this application? How is this application actually going to work, not only physically for the users, but technically on where we come in and develop this application. And once that's kind of formulated, we go into more of like the actual development process. But again, before any development is actually done, one of the first step that we do is actually design the application, the UI design, the UX design, and come up with clickable prototypes. And we've talked about this in the past, but this is a great thing for companies who really have no funding, because it's, I'm not going to say cheap, but it's affordable to kind of have this app mocked up and make a clickable prototype. And you can use this clickable prototype to give to investors, families, and friends and try to raise capital. And that's kind of the other process or step in the, how do you launch an app idea is you need money. Money not just for development, but money also for marketing. I won't lie to you, app development is not cheap, especially even after you launch your application. You have to take into consideration some costs for servers, databases, hosting fees. And as you gain more users and more traction to your application, all those fees start to increase more. So it's not always just you flip on the lights and everything's ready to go. There is actually a lot of financial backing that's needed to actually run these applications and even develop it. So raising capital is another important thing. And so again, just to reiterate what I've been saying is the way our program usually works and the way we kind of tell people to help them along their process of launching an app idea is, step one is let's sit down and get a scope. Formulate the technical stack, formulate what the application is and what it's actually going to do and who we're targeting. Step two is let's design it, let's prototype it. Again, there's no actual physical code or software written for this. It's just a clickable prototype in the UI UX design, and it's a very good representation of what the final application product will look like, and it kind of outlines how it will function as well. So, and again, this is a great way to get to step 3, which is hopefully to raise some capital. And not all clients that we work with have to go the route of raising capital. Some of them kind of saved up money or have gone through family and friends or have other business partners involved that they've kind of raised the capital themselves. But everyone's different, and so we have to realize that one of the important steps of launching your app idea is being able to raise capital, being able to fund your project, not only up front to get the product to market, but also after to kind of have like a little bit of runway to kind of support and maintain that application. And so obviously step 4 is once you kind of have that funding and you have all the means to basically run your business, because again, I want to be very clear, when when you're developing an app and you have an app idea, you're not just developing a mobile application. You are, but you're developing a product that you're bringing to the market. And so what that really entails is you're actually running a business. So step 4 of our program is we like to tell our clients to get in contact with some people you might need help with when you're operating this business. And from our experience, a lot of the people in our network that we refer to are attorneys, financial advisors, and people who kind of advise and help these young entrepreneurs or these early stage startup companies kind of learn how to actually operate a business. And again, that's super important because at the end of the day, what you're really doing with a mobile application is you're actually operating a business. So another part of our ATSAP Launchpad program is kind of networking and getting our clients involved in our network and introducing them to people who can actually help them run and push their business to the next level. So step 4 is actually a very crucial and important step in our program. And it's, even if you're not using our Launchpad program to kind of get your app idea to market, I strongly suggest that you learn to network and meet other people who can help you and start to build a team around not only your application that you're going to build, but the business that you're ultimately going to run. And then that brings us to the 5th step of our Launchpad program, and that's actually developing the mobile application or software, and that's physically writing the code. And this, kind of is, I like to say, sometimes the most time-consuming process, because it does take anywhere from 4 to 8 months to fully develop a mobile application, front end, back end, and everything else that's involved. But I want to make a quick point. If you're interested in kind of learning and hearing about what is the longest time frame, is it actually development? Usually yes, but I want to make a point about step 3 when you're trying to step 3 of the program when you're trying to launch or kind of gain or raise funds to develop your application. That could be a long process too. And another important part of that is, I know I mentioned about kind of, another part of our program is introducing people in our network that can help formulate your business. At that point in time when you're raising capital, it might be beneficial to kind of get involved with some of a financial advisor or is someone who can actually speak to the finances of business and kind of help you formulate some projections and whatnot to kind of show to investors and explain to them and pitch to them, hey, this is why I need X amount of dollars to run this business and develop this mobile application. But we'll talk about that more in another episode, because I think that would be beneficial to our listeners to kind of learn about, hey, I have this idea, I have it formulated on paper, but how do I actually raise capital? And again, we'll talk about that in a later episode. But back to stage 5, I believe we're on stage 5 here, is the development of the application. And that's a lot of times the funnest part, for us at least. That's what we do here. We're a software company. But when our clients see their product, actually downloadable as a beta version on their phone, and they can interact with that software and do things, it's really exciting to see them light up with excitement, because it's a really rewarding thing to kind of see all your hard work pay off when you go from the concept of having an idea, formulating that idea, prototyping it, raising funds, doing whatever you have to do to kind of learn how to operate this business, and then eventually start to develop your application. And when you kind of see that physical product in your hands, it's very rewarding. And so here at ATSAP, it's very exciting to see our clients get excited about, finally launching their product. And that's the final step of our program, is launching their product. And when I say launching a client's product, I don't mean that, we necessarily walk away. In some scenarios we do. Maybe they launch the product and they want to, they've raised enough capital that they're going to maintain and operate the software or mobile app themselves with their own internal team. But when we launch their idea, we help them with also with the maintenance and bug fixes and updates of this application as well, going forward for as long as they need us. That's all part of our ATSAP, kind of launchpad program. The last thing I'll kind of say about when a client is launching their application is, another really important thing is marketing your application. And I want to stress that because a lot of the questions that we get and a lot of the comments we get from our clients is, hey, once we get that product out to market, we're good. Like that's, we're good to go. We've succeeded. And that's a great accomplishment. I don't want to kind of say that it's not, because it's an awesome accomplishment to have your product developed and put it out to market. That's, you've done a lot of the hard grunt work to get there, and that's an awesome accomplishment. However, it's very important to know that if you don't have anyone actually downloading your app or downloading your software, then you don't really have a business. And, I always say to our clients that when I was learning how to develop apps and I was getting into entrepreneurship and learning how to start apps and different businesses and stuff like that, I always thought the hardest part would be developing the application. I came from a technical background. My degree was in computer science, and so I always thought if I could just develop the application, I was good, because I thought that was the hardest part. But I've learned over the years that the hardest part is actually the marketing and getting people to use your application. Because if you don't have people or users using your application, then you don't have a business and your product isn't going to succeed. So the final point I want to make here is make sure when you're developing your team and formulating your plan around kind of launching your application and bringing an app to the market or in the app stores, make sure you have a marketing plan and make sure you have somewhere in your budget to get people to download your apps, and by running ads or hiring a marketing firm and whatnot. And that's also another part, one of the resources in our Launchpad program is some marketing experts that we can refer to. So, but again, I just want to iterate that I know we are a software company, and I don't want to say that software development isn't important. It is, but one of the biggest things that we've seen, our clients that haven't really truly understand, they need to come to that realization, is that the marketing of an application is just as important as the development of the application. Because at the end of the day, I want to iterate again, you are developing a mobile app, but when you're developing a mobile app, what you're really doing is you're starting a business. So again, if you take one thing away from this episode, is you need to learn the idea that launching an app is simply not just launching an app, it's launching a business. You need to learn how to run and operate a business. And that's it for today's episode of the Bike Club podcast. If you have any questions or interested in learning more about our ATSAP Launchpad program, please visit our website. That's www.atsapllc.com. And you can see our Launchpad program kind of outlined on there. And it kind of walks you through some of the different processes and networks and resources that we have. And I really think that it's really beneficial for a lot of young entrepreneurs and startup companies to get involved in our program. And if you don't get involved in our program, maybe take the time to kind of see the steps that we've outlined in our program and take those steps first. Because again, building an app is more complicated than just kind of slapping some code together and throwing it out there. You're really learning how to operate a business, and there's a lot of ins and outs to that. So, really take the time to, formulate your idea and make sure that when you're launching your application, you're not just throwing things throwing things at the wall. You're actually formulating a plan and working towards the goal of bringing your product to market and ultimately bringing a business to life that's going to hopefully succeed. So again, if you have any questions, please feel free to check out our website or leave some comments in the comment section below. And like always, thanks for signing on, and let's build together.